Hello and welcome everyone to VARC with Gaurav. In this video, we will be taking a good hard look at the reading comprehension part of the VARC section of CAT exam. This video has been made especially for the first time aspirants of the CAT exam, final year students in their graduation or working professionals who might be giving the CAT for the first time ever. Hi, my name is Gaurav. I am a two-time CAT 99 percentiler and a big fan of the English language. And no wonder VRC happens to be my favorite section of the CAT exam. I'm here to help you all with your doubts and queries about the section. Before we move ahead, let's take a good look at the pattern of the VRC section over the past few years. In 2018, the exam was of 3 hours. Each section was given 60 minutes, that is 1 hour. VRC was the first section, 34 questions in all, split into 24 questions for reading comprehension and the remaining 10 for verbal ability questions. The pattern stayed the same in 2019, exact same time period given to each section, exact number of questions, and even the same split for RC and verbal ability. But then 2020 came, and with it a lot of changes. The world went upside down, everyone was going through a tough time, and CAT said, well, let me make it tougher for everyone out there. And hence this happened. The exam time was reduced to 2 hours from the previous 3 hours. Each section was given a tight 40 minutes. That is, the time available per section became 2/3 of the one which was given in 2018 or 19. But as you can see here, even though the time became 2/3 here, but the number of questions were a bit more than 2/3 of the previous ones. The expectations were that each section, or especially the VRC section, would have 22 questions or maybe 23. But it sprung a surprise on everyone with 26 questions coming in CAT 2020 exam, with 18 for reading comprehension and 8 for verbal ability. Needless to say, time available per question went down significantly, and it was challenging for all the aspirants out there. Now let's take a look at the question categories which often follow the reading comprehension passages in CAT exam. The first one, which I like to call as data questions. These questions generally cater to a specific part of the passage, a particular area. For example, let's say there is a passage on governance. The author is telling us how a nation should be governed or a society should be governed. And let's say in the second paragraph, he has mentioned Aristotle, the philosopher's opinion. And then at the end of the passage, we have a question which goes like, the author mentions Aristotle in order to, followed by 4 options. In such a case, the aspirant is expected to go back to the passage, locate Mr. Aristotle, find his opinion, and also determine why the author has mentioned Mr. Aristotle in order to put forward his point or maybe to criticize Mr. Aristotle's point. These questions are of generally reasonable difficulty, not a lot of complexity generally observed in this. Next up comes the macro idea category. In this category of question, the aspirant is expected to take into account the entire passage end to end. Questions such as, what is the tone of the passage? What is the summary of the passage? What is the central purpose of the passage according to the author before you? All these questions fall in the macro idea category, wherein the aspirant is expected to go through the passage carefully, determine the temperament and tone of the author, then make a decision. Sorry. And then lastly comes the category of critical reasoning. As the name suggests, these questions are really of a critical nature. They have a major share of all the questions that come in reading comprehension category. Here, the answer is not explicitly present in the passage as it might be in the case of data questions. Here, the aspirant is expected to do a very fine reading of the passage, read between the lines, imagine themselves in conversation with the author, or maybe put themselves in the author's shoes, and then try to attempt the question. Questions such as, the author is most likely to agree with which of the following? The author will agree with all of the following except. All such questions fall in the critical reasoning and interpretation questions. A very major share of this question category in the total reading comprehension section. Now let's take a look at the distribution of questions in CAT over the previous few years. In CAT 2018, the first slot we had this distribution. This is the slot 1, the morning exam. We had 5 RCs with 4 RCs having 5 questions each, and then one last RC having 4 questions to it. As far as diversity of topics is concerned, CAT 2018 did not have a lot of diversity with 3 RC topics going to social sciences, and again yet social sciences. And the remaining 2 being very close in their discussion area, environmental science, natural science, again pretty close. So as far as diversity was concerned, CAT 2018 did not have a lot to offer. But we can see a very good equitable distribution in the number of questions coming for each RC. As far as question categories are concerned, a major share, more than half, was taken up by critical reasoning and interpretation questions. And also more than 1/3 taken up by the data questions category. Poor fellow, macro idea reduced to a minority, maybe a couple of questions or at max 3 questions we could say. All right. And the same will be reflected in slot 2 as well. It also did not have a heavy diversity to be seen, but the topics seem to be a bit more relatable, with management taking up 3 RCs and then natural sciences and history making their appearance. The pattern stayed the same, with 4 RCs having 5 questions each and then 1 RC with 4 questions to it. The distribution stayed almost the same, with again half of the entire questions, the total questions taken up by critical reasoning, more than 1/3 by data questions, and poor fellow macro idea again shunted to the minority. Next up, 2019. I remember this exam very well. I had given this exam and slot 1 was my slot. As far as question distribution was concerned, as we can see, it stayed pretty much the same as 2018, with 4 RCs again featuring 5 questions each and then 1 RC having 4 questions to it. But CAT 2019 had a lot to offer with respect to diversity. We have history, we have management, humanities, social sciences, natural sciences, a lot of diversity. Wow. And whoa, look at this. Critical reasoning and interpretation questions gobbling up more than a fair share of the entire questions. Almost 3/4 part of the questions put before the aspirants fell into this category, with the remaining 1/4 being left to data questions and macro idea, already in minority in 2018, again shunted to further minority part in 2019 as well. Same could be reflected in 2019's second slot as well. Same distribution as far as question categories are concerned. Question distribution throughout the RCs is concerned, everything was the same. One thing to note here is this history passage that came here. It was taken from a book by an Indian author. Quite a few people found this passage challenging. It seems to have been taken right from somewhere within the book, in the middle part of the book, and no doubt quite a few people must have found it challenging. Next up, in 2020, this exam was taken in 3 slots. As I mentioned before, 2 hours per each slot instead of the usual 3. The first slot, early morning exam, 8 a.m., sprung a surprise on aspirants with 4 RCs total, with 2 RCs having 5 questions and the remaining 2 having 4 questions each. Diversity was also present in a fair amount. The history natural sciences, and languages. Critical reasoning also played a major role in this year as well. More than half taken up by critical reasoning and interpretation questions. But oh, look at this. More than one-fourth taken up by macro idea question, making a roaring comeback, shunted to the minority in previous 2 years with a very tiny share of 4% or maybe 10%, 8%. This year, gobbling up a fair share for itself at the expense of data questions. The same could be seen reflected in second slot as well as the third slot. But as you can see, in the third slot, it disappointed the aspirants with a lack of diversity. 3 out of 4 RCs dominated by social sciences and poor fellow economics, making a guest appearance of sorts in the fourth RC. The question type distribution stayed the same, with one half again taken up by critical reasoning and macro idea taking up more than one-fourth of all the questions in the exam as far as RC questions were concerned. Alright, over all these 3 years, all the exams, please note that each RC centered around 500 words each. All the RCs, all the passages were near about this value, 500 words, maybe 520, maybe 490 something, on an average 500 words per RC. Alright, a very consistent trend seems to be followed for the past 3 years. Not a lot of length as far as each RC, each passage is concerned, or not a lot of weightage given to one single RC. Equitable distribution being followed all through the years. So an aspirant is expected to score well in each RC or in each passage that is expected by them. Oh, sorry, expected of them to be solved. All right. There are a few sources from which the RCs have been taken over the years. Some very popular news outlet can be seen: Forbes magazine, Time magazine, the New York Times. Quite a few RCs were taken from this. Washington Post, again another popular outlet. Aeon Essays, a very popular platform for preparing RCs among CAT aspirants. A lot of people I know go through this platform, go through the literature, to the material present here. History RCs have often been taken from Smithsonian Magazine. Smithsonian Magazine is a source of a lot of history RCs for the CAT exam. So if you are someone looking to improve your command or your score in RCs which have history as their dominant topic, going through the articles here could help you improve your score. Also featuring here the Hindu, of course, a popular Indian newspaper, and then the Guardian, coming from the Great Britain. Passages might also come from books or encyclopedias, and of course there is no guessing which one, which year. Alright. One thing to note here is, one thing we can see very clearly, the sources seem to be dominantly American in origin, American in nature, all of them coming from United States, but there is no way that we can expect CAT to follow this pattern each and every year. CAT is famous for staying ahead of the curve, staying a step ahead of the aspirants and as well as tutors every year in its scope, in its difficulty and its pattern. There has hardly been a year where the exam could be said that it was of an expected level, that it was easily aced by people all over the country. No, hardly ever, hardly. So please stay on the top of your game. For all we know, the RCs in CAT 2021 might be sourced from a Japanese magazine. Of course, they will be in English language, no doubt. But they might be Japanese in their origin, in their idea flow, their narrative, and so on. Please stay ahead of the curve, keep your game strong, and break the section. Bell the cat. Thanks for watching. Here are my contact details. You can reach out to me anytime to book your slot in one of our CAT 2021 VARC batch. Thank you.